Right. After 8 years of the military being depleted, President Trump is making this promise.
We will ensure that the men and women of our military have the tools, equipment, resources, training, and supplies you need to get the job done.
All right, here to discuss now, we have the widow of American sniper Chris Kyle and Fox News contributor Taya Kyle. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning.
Want to start with some breaking news. Yesterday, John McCain said regarding the raid in Yemen where an American Navy SEAL lost his life. He said, you know, I wouldn't consider it a success if you lose a $75 million airplane and the loss of a life. What do you say to Senator McCain? Because Sean Spicer says that McCain owes critics of that
and owes Ryan Owens' family an apology.
Yeah, I mean, he certainly could apologize to the family for saying it was a failure, because that insinuates that his life was given for nothing, and it wasn't. They got 14 high-value targets. That's a big deal. These guys went in and risked their lives, and they were very successful. Did everything go well? No, everything didn't go according to plan, but it's
Nothing
war.
Ever goes right.
No,
Did you know Ryan Owens?
I did not know him, but I know friends who are pretty close to them.
So you called family of the team members, right? You said you
yeah, you know, I talked to some friends this morning about it and asked, you know, what do you feel? And she said, yeah, it's horrible, because they hear the kids' other parents talking about it at school, and if they're saying it's a failure or they're commenting negatively about that without counteracting that with some of the positive results, that's really hard on them. They gave their lives for that. They planned, they worked hard, and they're valiant. They're victorious.
Did you go through any of that?
Yeah,
People
I mean,
criticizing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that's, in a way, that's part of it, but I think when it comes from somebody like John McCain, it gives it a little bit of weight. Right. And when he says it's a failure, that sounds factual. It's not factual. That's simply not true.
And, you know, so we don't know the details of it. We know this. It was a lot more resistance than they originally thought, which makes you think that you got very close to people that are very important when you get that kind of firepower back. So Senator John McCain said this on another network.
When you lose a $75 million airplane, and more importantly, American lives are a life is lost and wounded, I don't believe that you can call it a success.
But you say that that's simply not accurate. And you also, what I think is the most powerful point is just that if you lost a family member, you know, the family that lost that Navy SEAL, you don't want to think he gave away his life for nothing.
Right, and it's semantics. I think sometimes it's politically motivated when you say something's a failure or success, and I don't think you can categorically say that. It's just, you have to be a little more detailed.
Right. Let me ask you this, because you're uniquely qualified to answer this. People in the military say we've been so risk-averse for 8 years, we're letting a lot of people get away with a lot of things, and a lot of red lines have been passing. For someone in the military, of a spouse or directly there, how do you feel about that? Being risk-averse, is that a good thing?
Well, no, I mean, if you're going to get terrorists, you have to be able to risk something. You have to be willing to go into the hard situations, and you have to know that everything isn't going to go according to plan. And that's, I mean, if you want it to be perfect, you're not going to get the people you need to get.
What does President Trump need to do to make our military as strong as it can be and to protect our country?
I think he's on the right track when it comes to the military. I mean, he's working on morale. He's letting them know he supports them. He's talking to guys on the ground. He's not just listening to a couple chosen generals. He's actually talking to the guys serving, and I think that's a big deal. He's showing up, like when Owen's body was brought back, he was there and he showed respect that way. Yeah. And he's working on funding. I think, you know, if Congress can get behind that, that'll be a big deal too.
Sure. The funding, we did a segment with Pete Hegseth about an hour ago, where over the last 8 years, the funding has gone down while the threats have gone up.
Right.
Our Air Force has never had as few airplanes as we do right now in the modern time.
Right, and helicopter crashes happen all the time. The gear is subpar. I mean, they need to bring all of that up so that the warriors can not only go out and fight the fight, but be safe while they're doing it.
Yeah, I think that's also important. Do you also think it's important, because Donald Trump has been a critic of the Iraq War, but the way we fought in there, the way we adjusted, the surge, fought very valiantly. Do you think it would be better to dial back on the criticism of the Iraq War because so many people have lost their lives and limbs fighting for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to keep eyes forward, too, right? Like, you know, it's easy to come in and criticize something that already happened, but they made a lot of progress in Iraq. You know, they got rid of a lot of terrorists, and they cleaned up the area substantially for the civilians as well. There are schools where there used to be a lot of mines. So, yeah, I think that you have to be careful about it and keep eyes forward without so much going back and criticizing the efforts that were made there.
All right. Taya Kyle, thank you very much for joining us today.
Taya.